Hello and welcome back to the final part of our Let's Play of Inside. I am BeBetterGamer, joined by my wife,
DrunkenHomemaker here.
and she got ourselves a drink for this one.
Yeah, I needed a drink for this
We are going inside. Before we go inside, to find out what inside is all about.
Yeah. It's gonna get real.
It's gonna get so real.
And this one's gonna be really heady because this game is very heady. Like, you can't not...
It's also a little bit limby.
Shut up.
To go along with those heads.
It's a game that really challenges you to think, and you were just saying, and to look inside. And I feel like...
But also, when we were first playing this game, and I've repeated it so many times throughout these episodes, you know, and not knowing what to expect, this was, I have to say, in the, you know, almost 30 years I've been playing video games, because I've been playing video games pretty much since I was born, because I could hold the controller. This was the first time where I had that, like, mind F moment, where, like, it just F with my mind. When we get to the huddle, I was just like, what?
Jose was shook.
What is this?
He was shook. Shook.
I just had no no room for words. Couldn't understand anything.
Ooh, here we go.
This is a great moment.
Because he's with the kid.
He's with the kid, and they're shopping. They're getting it. He brought the kid with him,
which is so messed up. Like,
they're also...
This is how normal this is in this society.
Yeah. And they're kind of dressed differently. And also, it's also like super meta, because it's one of the gray people getting other gray people.
Oh, is it a gray person?
Yeah.
I thought it was just like a regular worker.
No, it was a gray. It was actually, you know, I don't know.
Let's not quote Jose on that.
Let's not quote. It looked like a gray. It looked like a gray.
That just might be the palette.
It might just be the palette.
But yeah, that moment for me really kind of messed me up, because I was like, ooh, this is normal. Like, It's not like when, you know, if you're going to the strip club and you know you're kind of a messed up human being, you usually don't bring your kid.
Well, usually.
Right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I have stories.
No,
going places with my dad. It's like,
pretty messed
it
up.
wasn't until I was older I was like, well, this is kind of messed up.
That wasn't great.
But again, it's like...
But for the most part, people try to, like, if they're doing something wrong...
Yes. But they
don't bring their kids along,
and
right?
it goes to a lot of what we were talking about last episode. You know, this world where kids aren't protected, but also where this world where you're being taught at a very young age that this is normal. This is okay.
Right.
You know, I think about, like, you know, our daughters growing up, you know, in a world where like, you know, they have Netflix. And it's okay for them. It's all they know is that they can watch anything at any time. Whereas for us growing up, it was like, no, we had to wait till like 8 o'clock to watch something. You know, we had to wait for a certain time, and you know that it's like you take for granted
instant
sometimes. Yeah, you take for granted sometimes. You know what you're born in. I mean, obviously we grew up in a world with, you know, technology and things like that. 100 years ago, they didn't have the stuff we have. But it's another thing to grow up in a world where, when it comes to how you're treating other people and how that's okay, and you think back in the times throughout history, not just in the history of the US, but the history of the world, with like slavery and slavery of different people and cultures and stuff like that. Not, you know, the pyramids didn't build themselves, and we're seeing that here. We're seeing that in another society that is being taught it is okay at a very young age for whatever is going on here in this moment.
Oh yeah, so you see the person that's sort of observing there.
You know, like, this is okay. Like, a kid's gonna go to school one day to get a job at one of these factories. You know, like, where he's gonna be...
Well, not that kid. That kid looks like he has money.
Yeah.
That kid has money. His dad was dressed like Steve Jobs, so I feel like that kid is like, his dad has money, you know?
I do want to say, with this moment, you know, again, we talked a lot about how the similarities between this game and Limbo, and a lot of people say that this whole water part, you coming down from the water, the gravity part... is very reminiscent of the gravity puzzles in Limbo. And just another thing that sort of kind of game design wise ties the games together. But it also does make you wonder, like, how the hell are they getting all that water to float up there? Again, another just great telling of the world through the design of puzzles. But here now we got these are definitely not alive.
The Olympians here.
The Olympians.
They're little
Olympians. Is that how it's spelled? There's literally one without a head.
Yeah. And he's chilling. He's fine. He's okay with it.
He's not even joining right now. He's not even helping because he probably can't see.
He's like, I don't have eyes, so.
But that's why I said in the last episode, like, I think they're growing them. I think this is like the next step. And we're going to see a little bit later on when we get to the offices that sort of support my own, theory on that, where they figured out how to take people and turn them into the gray people. Then they were like, well, we're gonna have to start making them from scratch. It sort of goes back again to that idea of the livestock. It's like, okay, we're growing these cows, but now we need more cows, so we need to inject them. But then you're still growing them too fast to keep up to when you can birth them. Well, let's start cloning them.
Right.
And I think that's what they're doing with the people.
Right.
They're running out of people to make the gray people, so now they got to create their own people.
So that guy was definitely that guy had money. That guy had money, right?
Maybe this is the cream of the crop. Maybe this is like the you can get the iPhone, or you can get the iPhone S. You can get the gray, who's a real person, but he'll probably die after a few years, or you can get the limbless bodies who, were grown in the upside down water. They were literally grown in the upside down.
But are they are they caged, or are they are they free roaming? Are they organically harvested? I want to know all this stuff.
This is interesting too, because this is right. Like, how are they grown? But here also we should touch on. Bless you.
Excuse me.
We should touch on that. They're all following him without a mind control device, and we saw one of the Greys drop what he was doing and join the pack.
Oh, you died.
I died there. Yeah. Which also was a point I remember we debated hard on in the beginning of whether or not these people were alive, because here's a very clear example of, if I fall, I die, but they fall, they get right back up.
Right.
They're
definitely dead.
They're definitely dead. But they're also made of something.
This part
is great. And this is the part that was first shown way back, like, in 2014, when they had the little E3 teaser trailer of the next game by the Play Dead.
They were doing.
And this was the closing moment of that teaser trailer. Teaser trailer didn't show anything else pretty much. And here we are now, finally getting sort of close to the final act, and we finally see that moment. And I still have no idea what to expect. What were you thinking? What were you thinking we were gonna find? What was going on through your mind?
I had no idea what to expect, but I remember feeling just like this amazing anticipation, because I was like because to me, I think the Telltale, and actually now thinking back on it, like when he went into that room and he was floating in the water, you could make the argument that those people saw him, and maybe because they saw him, they were like, it's happening,
it's working. Yeah.
Everybody, please report to the huddle. You could make the argument that that's they're tracking the kid and they know when he's coming.
So I have issues with that theory. You're of course talking about the theory that we talked about, I think, in one of the earlier episodes, that it goes against that the huddle's bringing him, that he's being brought in by the people who are working on the huddle, because he's also part of an experiment. And my issue with that theory is that that's way too many people to be involved on this experiment for just this kid. Because when he shows up into that room and everyone's looking at the glass, they disregard him and they just focus on the huddle. So it's almost like they're just like, oh, here he comes, play cool, just pretend like he's not there. He's like there. That's like dozens of people who are in on it. You know what I mean?
That's true.
And so it's a theory that makes sense, but I don't think it has enough legs. No pun intended.
The worst.
So here's another orb that you can hear in the background, that music again. And this was not an orb we found in the first playthrough. This is an orb.
No,
I found
I was gonna say I don't remember this one.
And it's just like that other orb you find before you get into the assembly line. These are the two parts where you hear that music, and that music is the key to the end, the hidden ending, where you have to replay that theme. And again, it's just this recurring theme of mind control being done with the music. But the fact that it's hidden, the fact that it's a big, to me, narrative plot point, hidden, it's like, why do that? Why hide probably one of the biggest clues as to what's going on? Why hide it from the player? You know? Why not just put it? Why not put it? Because there's certain orbs you're not gonna miss, but those are orbs you will probably miss. Because I missed them. Yeah, I didn't go after them.
It plays to the idea that this whole game, you're moving in a certain direction, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing,
yes.
And then they're not giving you the answer for the orbs. They're not giving you the answer about how to unlock that ending. You have to figure it out yourself. You have to think outside of, no pun intended, but you have to think outside of the realm of what you're expected to do. Or
we should just see, since this is the last episode, we should just see how many inside
and outside
we could do, or puns with the huddle.
Apparently, that's what we've already been doing. This game is so good.
Here we go, pulling it down, and they don't disconnect much like the dogs,
right? Which is
Office Space. This is a funny one. Do an elevator pitch. That's the name of the achievement. Some of them are funny. Some of them are very, just very basic. But that one's a funny one. That's probably the funniest one. But yeah, it is that, again, it's that fourth wall thing. It's that BioShock thing. It's like, am I really in control, or is the game in control?
I just can't help but be so impressed by the design of this game, in terms of they really did think of everything, and the fact that we're able, this is what you want when you create a piece of art, is my theory. You want people to sort of be able to have these conversations afterwards and be able to dissect, and be able to say, oh my gosh, but what do you think it meant by, like, that's what I strive for when I write something. When I write something, I want people to be able to have that conversation and want to grab a cup of coffee afterwards and be like, so what was that about? Like, let's talk about this and let's figure out, what they were trying to say. And yeah, I
remember when we get to now we're getting to, we're getting closer, but I remember when we were first getting to this part and seeing those people run in the distance. I mean, my heart probably was racing a bit, but it really was like heightening the sense, like, okay, now this is the first time we're seeing other people going towards what we're going towards.
Right. Which is,
something's up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, something's up. Something's wrong. And it's like, we're kind of like arriving at the right moment.
Right.
And again, that's why that theory does make a lot of sense. Like, yeah. we're it's almost too convenient. We're arriving at this moment.
Oh, this is so creepy. I don't know why this really creeped me out. Like, not that, like, I don't think that they can bleed and stuff like that. It's just like, there's just something about the gray people that just is really upsetting to me. But look, like, they're just...
He sees the kid. Disregards. It's the
he also, like, runs into a bunch of chairs.
Yeah.
Oh, and, did you see that?
What?
We just passed by... Was that a camera?
Yeah.
They were, like, set up, like, for a press conference or something, right?
Yeah, like, they're showing it off. Like, they're, like, displaying it. And we're seeing the huddle. Obviously, we still can't see it. Probably the first moment in the game where you go up to something and you can't see what's beyond it.
I'm sorry. I'm so distracted by how amazing that detail is, where I was literally thinking, oh, but there's holes in the floor. So when he goes, and then of course the desk, shakes, and I'm like, oh, that attention to detail though.
The attention to detail is so good in this game.
So good.
It holds up throughout the whole game. Here we go, the kid just climbing, just finding his way. No matter what, he's gonna find his way. And again, who's telling him? Is it us, the player, figuring out, oh, I gotta go up this way? Or is it the huddle that's like, you have to go this way? Like, subconsciously, like, we don't realize it. Just a very well thought out game. Here, everyone's looking over it. now you can sort of see positions of power.
And he's also like sneaking, which is like hilarious to me at this point. I'm like, nobody cares about what you're doing at this point. Like, they're looking at the thing, the awful thing that's in there.
What do you think was, because we know now obviously what's in there, but what do you think was it that the huddle was displaying that caused everyone to drop what they were doing and come look at it?
I don't know, because and that's why I go back to my theory. I do think that they were working on some sort of remote mind control. Do they know that it's the boy? I don't think that they know it's the boy. I think that they're working on a remote mind control. And so I think that as far as they know, he's close, but they don't know who he is.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right. So that's why it's like, oh, he's close.
I took a screenshot and here. This is so beautiful. Another beautiful tableau. This we didn't find in the first playthrough.
Right.
This is the last hidden orb you find, and it's actually inside this giant orb. Orbs within orbs, or at least maybe this is the big one. You shut it down. I guess they all come to this one because this is the main facility that lights up, which
the last one
is a clue. I'm guessing to
it comes together.
Yeah, is a clue to that's the where you have to go, where the cornfield is. You have to go back to that spot and open the door with the hidden sequence. And we'll talk about that. We have the hidden ending. We'll do the hidden ending after the main ending. But yeah, I mean, that's a good point with the boy. And
maybe they're working on this new technology, but they know that the huddle is being successful and that this is the moment, but they don't really know who to expect. That could be it.
Do you think it's sort of like the thing? So I get a lot of like sort of Area 51 vibes.
Oh, for sure.
Like, you know, like, well, if you look at the jump in technology from like when Area 51 happened, and all of a sudden we had like, you know, tanks that could like move at like 70 miles per hour, like all.
Yeah, well, that's because of the aliens, though.
But that's the thing. Do you think that the huddle was found, not created? You think it was found and not created, and it was dormant this whole time? And then now that it's moving, because the boy is getting closer to it, that's what's like, everyone's like, holy crap, this thing is moving now.
I'm gonna burst your bubble real quick.
Okay, burst it.
I'm sorry. This is why I'm gonna burst your bubble, because when you go to the location that's lit up in that map, what do you see?
There's a picture of it moving.
There's a picture of it standing.
Of standing, yes.
Right.
Okay, alright, yeah.
So that's why I have to burst your bubble.
That was a good theory.
It was a good theory. It was. I liked it. And I was like, oh yeah, this makes sense. And then I was like, except that it definitely at least stood so that somebody could take a picture of it.
My mind, I remember playing this, my mind at this point, I was just going through the motions.
Yeah, because you're just like, I have no idea. Right?
And again, that's this game is doing to you for many different reasons. Yeah. But I was like, let's bring it. What's in there? Let's do it. Let's see what's in there. I don't care. It's gonna be something good, isn't it? Right. It's gonna be something big. It's gonna be something I don't expect.
Oh yeah.
And
boy, were you right.
Oh my goodness. And you know, it's funny to go and do research afterwards. The making of this thing, this huddle. There were a lot of people call it like the blob. Took them a good couple of years to make.
Wow.
Design wise, it was a incredible.
This is so cool. I don't know why this is so cool to me, but it is.
It was an incredible feat because it was such a complex design.
It is. This is such a great moment. You're just like, oh, I'm naked now. Hey guys.
Mm-hmm. Much like the girl.
Like the girl,
in
right?
the water. Everyone's looking.
And then you're just like,
and see, they bang on the glass. They bang on the glass, sort of like, don't touch it. Do they not want you to touch it because they don't want you to damage their experiment? Or do they not want you to touch it because they're like, oh wait, he shouldn't be in there. He could get killed. But again, they don't care about kids in this world.
Well,
and this is very Matrixy, the way it's connected to the. And then you get pulled in, and that's when he becomes the boy in limbo. No, I'm just But that's another big theory. Is that once you get pulled in, he becomes the boy in limbo. But
I don't think he's the same boy personally, but that's I guess you could argue. And also, I mean, that it's so confusing at this point because they don't pay attention to you. I'm sorry. Up until this point, people have been trying to murder you on spot, and then like you get to this point where these people are looking at the huddle and they don't even pay attention to you, and then you're doing all this stuff, and then there's parts where they're like, oh my god, right? Like this part where they're like,
what were you expecting? If you were luring this boy here, what were you expecting was gonna happen?
And not only that, but like later, like people help you along the way. That's the other thing, is like there's people actually physically helping you along the way.
This is just incredible, though.
And then you have to ask yourself, because there's that one part where the huddle throws up that box, right? And then one of the researchers pulls it.
You're working together.
Yeah, you're working together. So now you can ask the question, you can pose the question, was all of this a setup for the boy to go through all of these experiments so that he knew how to do all of this?
But here's a counter to that.
Okay.
This is probably, so we saw all the mind control stuff attached to it. This is the center. This is where everything is. Everything's being pulled to it. Could you argue that in those moments, the people helping you are not helping you of their free will? They're helping you because the huddle.
Yeah. Okay.
The huddle is powerful enough to get them to help you.
That could be it too.
Because leading up to this, we see the boy able to control the bodies without the device.
Right.
So if he's able to do that, if he's already able to do that at that point, the huddle has to be able to do that. And maybe that's why it's being quarantined, it's being put on lockdown. Maybe that's why they don't want it to escape, because it would be too powerful and it would rise up against what they were doing.
Right.
Being free is the worst thing that could happen.
But then again, that's what happens at the end, and it's all for nothing, right?
This is great.
Oh, it's so cool.
Because you see the little miniature, or whatever of where you started in the game and where you went to.
No, this is just that hill that's next to the research facility, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's where you start. That's where you start, and then that's the farm area.
Is it?
Or no, that's the.
Isn't that the hill at the very end that you?
Is that the hill at the end?
I think it is. I could be wrong.
I thought it was the part in the beginning when you get to the first facility. You know what? Now that you mention it, it might be.
It looks like the hill at the end.
It might be the hill at the end. So then, what is that structure?
Oh, good question.
If that's the hill at the end, what is that structure? What are they trying to get to?
But it is by the water, and you do fall right next to the water.
I always thought that building looked like the building that you first come to, before you get to the assembly line, right outside the farm. Mm-hmm. That's what I always thought.
I'm going to have to lower this a little bit.
And obviously we're seeing, not only is this the mass so powerful to go through all these objects, but look how big it is, look how strong it is to just pull these huge objects off. When I was doing research for this, there's a great GDC vault where it's essentially a PowerPoint, because the Game Developers Conference is where every year the game developers go and they host all these postmortems where they talk about developing games, different games, and there's actually one about the creation of the huddle that goes through all the steps, and it's very technical. It's very technical with all the zeros and ones that went into it, but they do talk about what the inspiration was for the huddle, and there was 3 main inspirations. One was obviously mass groups of people. Oh, but real quick, so we're killing one of the head execs, right?
Yeah, clearly. They definitely set that up so that you're and you murk the dude.
You murk him so good. That's probably the most violent death in the game.
Yeah, that is. Easily.
And again, I think this is their worst fear is the huddle escape. I think if we're gonna touch on the theme that a lot of what this game is trying to tell us is that we are fast becoming a society, or have always been a society that just always, we become that hive mind. We just follow. We just follow everything, and it will lead us to our doom.
Let's see how fast you did it here, because you usually
this was challenging.
This is one of the most challenging ones for you. Here we go. Every time.
There in that moment when you're killing one of the big execs, one of the big people who probably is in charge of this operation, that's like a breaking of the chain, almost a breaking of a link in the chain. You know, and
I think that this game is almost like decidedly like without hope in a lot of ways. It does ask you to examine and look within, but that ending, man, that ending is rough, where it's like definitely like you know, we need, like, you were shook. I remember, like, I wanted to make you a drink at the end of this game. I was like, he looks like he needs a drink.
What's your drink tonight?
Tonight it is a Moscow Mule, but our oldest daughter had the last of the limes, so it is sans lime juice. So I'm a little bit sad about that,
but getting back real quick, because, you know, I do want to talk about that ending and that last moment. So mass groups of people, especially like when you see bodies in a concert, you know, all huddled together. The physics elements of a very early indie game called Gish, that was actually made by the lead developer of that. He ended up making Super Meat Boy. But the physics element of how...
there you go! You got it!
In Gish, there's these little like black blobs with yellow eyes. So the way their body moves is very reminiscent of how sort of like the ripples of the huddle moves.
Okay.
And then the last big inspiration was from... have you ever seen the Princess Mononoke?
No, I have not.
There's a moment in there where you see the demon form of the boar god Nago, and the way it turns into basically this sort of giant spider kind of thing, but it's not a spider. And just the way it moves, and it has all these like different limbs coming out of it. And you don't know, you know, where the limbs end and where they begin.
Okay.
So those were the big three inspirations for the developers. It's a great article. And we're obviously taking damage, right? We're taking damage. We're losing limbs.
Yeah.
So you could say maybe we're getting weaker. And here's one of those moments you were talking about.
Where he helps you. He's like, I'm gonna open this door for you.
And you see people in the back
Please
watching.
Don't hurt me. But he still reserves. It's not like a decided, like, I'm gonna go do this because you mind control me to do this. You know what I mean? It's like a decidedly, like, I'm still scared of you and I'm doing this because I have to.
I mean, you know, he could be under the influence but not realizing he's under the influence.
I don't know.
Sometimes people do things, just generally they do things...
It definitely feels like
they're in fear.
Well, here they're definitely setting you up to get recaptured.
Oh yes.
So that might be why you might not have to make the argument. Here they're setting you up definitely to be recaptured.
Well, why bring you in to get you captured all over again? Why would the boy be the main part of the experiment?
I don't know.
And not the huddle.
I don't know, Jose. This game be crazy. It is a crazy game.
I did enjoy these puzzles at the end. I just love throwing the box for some reason as the huddle. Like, it seems so. Seems so frustrated.
This feels like Goat Simulator for adults.
Yeah, right.
That's what it feels like. Like, you know, the sheer joy that our children
do play Goat Simulator.
Well, yeah, that's fair. But like, you know, I think of like the sheer joy that our kids get out of like doing ridiculous things on Goat Simulator, and how this is just so absurd and so like this is ridiculous. You know,
it's just so satisfying to throw that box.
Are you nicing your own?
I am.
Game?
I'm nicing my own game. This is really cool though. The whole throwing the box over the sprinkler system puzzle.
I think I'm the one that solved this puzzle.
I think you did solve it.
Yeah.
Running into. I remember when we first got to this point, we were pretty much speechless the whole time while this was going on. We could see
that's the only appropriate response to this too.
We could see what's going on, and I'm playing this, and I'm like, yeah, I guess I'm controlling a giant blob of flesh right now. All right, I'm gonna go with it because I have no words.
Right.
I have no words, and you have to do these puzzles the whole time thinking like, what is going on? Why am I solving these puzzles as a giant blob of flesh?
Oh, the sound design also. I wanted to mention the sound design for the yelling within the, like, as it definitely starts off a lot more vocal when you first start out as the huddle, and then as it progresses, it gets quieter and quieter because it's getting more damage, it's taking more damage and stuff.
You said this was the companion cube moment.
Yeah,
Portal,
right. Yeah.
When you're killing the companion cube.
Yeah.
Another probably possible nod to Portal indirectly or maybe directly. Who knows?
Right. There's definitely a lot of Portal vibes here.
The whole aperture, you know, these experiments being done.
I would say even the palette is sometimes similar. That they use.
Here we go. Here's another trap puzzle. You know, they're trying to lead you. They're waiting for you. It definitely does seem set up. It definitely does seem set up. You know.
I'm sorry.
But the voices brings up a good point because it's like, okay, now was the huddle created? Like, did they were like, all right, you know, we started to create these things. Let's just see what happens when we start putting them together. Or was it something that started happening on its own? It's like, hey, you should check this out. What, you remember those bodies we were creating yesterday? Yeah, well, they kind of just formed together now.
No, this is a mad scientist experiment. There's a mad scientist behind this. This is not something that just kind of happens and you're like, oh, well, that's interesting. No, because any normal person would have been like, kill it with fire. Kill it with fire. You know?
But you know, we've gone through so many. Oh. We've gone through so.
See right here. This is. Okay, I'm gonna set it off and throw it to you.
I'm gonna put it in. It's so.
This does not seem like mind controller to me. This seems like they want you to go where you're going right now, which makes sense because they're leading you essentially to a trap, right?
Yeah, this is the trap, and I can't really ever tell what's there in the background. They kind of look like trees, but
no, aren't they people? There's an audience here.
It looks like someone's smoking. There's like
there's an audience here, right? I can't quite see because first of all, your computer screen is disgusting.
Yeah,
Let's
it's
just
pretty gross.
Every time it gets black,
you just see fingerprints all over it.
Right. No,
I know though. Yeah, those are people.
Yeah, I remember that was like one of the things. It's like this is a demonstration.
Yeah,
that's why. Okay, yes, that's why they're all running because this is the beginning of the demo. And I do think that they were timing it so that the boy would find them on, within that time. But I think that that's what it is because you saw that there was like a press conference that had just taken place right before.
Yes.
And then all the employees start running so that they can get front row seats.
Front row seats, yeah.
So yeah, I think it is a demo open to the public of like, this is what we're working on. How you pitch this to people and your shareholders, I imagine. I will never.
But it's got to be a select. I don't think it's like a public thing. It's got to be a select thing because.
Well, they definitely had a press conference of sorts. Who knows what that was for? If it was just for them internally.
But I'm still finding a way to escape.
Right.
Now we get the fish again, and the fish don't really follow you. They kind of lead the way. They don't seem as interested as they were the boy. Or I guess they do follow you. Yeah, they do follow you, but they also like...
I love the silence when you're underwater.
Yeah.
Not like silence, but the because it is silence when you're in limbo. When you're playing limbo, there is silence when you're underwater. Here, there is this beautiful underwater ambient sound. That's
in limbo too.
I think it's to a less degree.
To limbo, it sounds more like how it would where you as a person would go underwater.
No, this sounds like a person underwater to me. This sounds more like that.
So if this was a big trap, they probably weren't expecting this, right? This is the big escape. That's
my theory.
There's no one around. This is, if anything, the Truman exit, the Truman Show exit. There's no one around.
Not as neat.
You blow through, and freedom? Question mark.
I don't think it's freedom. I think it's a very stark ending. Then again, he could just be lying there knowing he or she or it, they could be lying there thinking, well, I gotta...
You're right. This is definitely the part in the bigature.
Which means that...
There's something over there.
There's something over there. So here... This part is... I remember just Jose being shook. I remember... I was shook too. I'm not gonna lie. I was shook too. I was definitely like, what... And then, you're expecting yourself to get up and you're expecting that the game is going to continue because you had that moment, that faux death earlier in the game. So you sort of expect like, okay, well, they're going to get up.
It's that realization of, oh, now we just got to what we were trying to find and then now the game's over. You spent probably a good 10 minutes running around as the huddle, 15, if your first time through. But then it's that realization like, this seems like the ending. No, it can't be ending. I don't want it to be the ending because I just found the huddle.
We just got this cool superpower. Yeah. That's ridiculous.
And you are moving a little bit.
You're moving a little bit, but it's also the size of the huddle is decreasing also. I don't know if you noticed that. I definitely noticed it. It was very noticeable the first time I played through. It's like by the time the credits end, you're decidedly smaller as the huddle. So it's like sort of like it is deflating.
So do you think the huddle doesn't survive in this moment? And if so, what does this ending mean to you? What does this last moment mean to you?
I'm almost wondering
everything you've seen.
I'm almost wondering if the huddle is calling someone else in to help at this point. If it has realized that it is severely hurt and it is sort of trying to what's the word I'm looking for?
Summon?
Yeah, summon something to help or people to help, something like that. But I think that it's still a highly experimental phase, and I do think that it's kind of like one of those really stark endings. I think it's done purposefully, and I think you're meant to sort of feel that emptiness that we both felt when we saw this ending. I mean, just the music.
Like now, all that work for what?
Like, listen to this eerie skull music.
Eerie skull music.
It's eerie skull music.
Yeah, it is kind of thing, and I think that's what was so jarring for me when I first played it. It's like I escaped for what?
And I
don't like what now? Yeah. Even if this huddle is alive, it's like, what are you gonna do? You're not gonna like go out and like hang out and live a normal life. It's like,
what kind of freedom are you?
And again, it's like these were real people at one point, possibly, and now they're stuck as this huddle. You know what I mean? It's like, what happens next? Yeah. So, we beat the game. I went through the game twice to get all the orbs. And the game reloads back to the beginning. The game reloads back to the beginning automatically.
Because it's like, oh, don't you want to go through this nightmare again?
And so now I'm loading up. I got all the orbs. And now we're going to go see the hidden ending. Which adds another layer to... what this game is all about, but also who we are as the player, who we are as controlling the boy. And this was...
Oh, wait. Is there corn on the stalks?
No. There's no corn on the stalks. So, here was the only thing I had to look up because I could not for the life of me figure out what to do with the Switch. The Switch is now definitely making the sounds reminiscent of what we would hear, and basically you have to recreate the sounds that were being done in the order that you heard them on the recordings. But I couldn't do that. I don't have a musical ear like that, and I wasn't about to sit there and figure it out. So a lot other smarter people figured it out for me online ahead, and I'm basically doing it in the sequence that you have to open the door to get to this new part, which people call it the hidden ending because the game basically ends.
Is there something like this in Silent Hill that you have to do?
Silent Hill has multiple endings, yeah.
Or is it just the music is reminiscent?
A little bit of both. There's, I think there was like one of the Silent Hills, maybe it was Silent Hill 2, where like one of the endings was sort of very similar to this.
I actually didn't play Silent Hill 2. Kind of embarrassed to admit that.
But I just think that last moment, initially that last moment for me, felt very hopeless. But honestly, having replayed the game, having thought about the game, I want to say there is a little bit of hope in that ending. Because I think that...
Always the hopeless romantic.
Well, because I think that ending, if we tie that ending with this ending, and if we let them exist as two separate endings and two sort of separate directions of where this story kind of goes, they both seem kind of hopeful in the sense that you can break free. They both have this message of you can break free. It's going to be hard. There's going to be sacrifices, but you can break free. And the sacrifice for the huddle is that it broke free, but now it's a giant huddle, alive or dead. Mm-hmm. What is it going to do out in this real world? And here, with the boy breaking all the mind control at once, the boy sort of shuts down. The boy's life disappears.
Right.
Which ties into the notion that this boy was an advanced experiment. This boy was an advanced version of the gray people. Because there we see in the background all the computers tied up to another one of the thing. The mind control things, and here we just basically pull the plug. We pull the plug, we shut everything down, but in effect we're also shutting ourselves down. Because the way the boy, his posture just sort of is recreated, sort of like how all the other ones, the Endless, he just hulks down. And he's done.
Yeah.
And again, if that was the secret hiding place where someone was taking pictures of the huddle, someone was gathering intel on this thing, did they have the key? Did they have the key to end it all? Mm-hmm. And we're thinking about, we can do this thing or something. You know what I mean? Like we can take it down.
Right.
So that's it. That's our Let's Play of Inside.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts? Any big takeaways?
It's messed up, yo. I do think that it is a dark ending, but I think we are living through sort of kind of dark times. So I think it's a very poignant game. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think it's a beautiful game in its messed up awfulness. But it's a beautiful game. It's beautifully designed. They put so much thought into this. You can feel that this is like a passion project. Yeah. So it's just a great game.
It is.
I think that it will be appreciated, hopefully, for what it is, which is, a great artistic piece that sort of is timeless. It does feel timeless to me. It does feel like, in 20 years from now, hopefully somebody will play this game and be like, oh, this is amazing,
And we could keep talking here because I'm just going to basically just let the end part, because I do want to gather another thought that we didn't really touch upon a lot through the play, but, Playdead has already announced they're working on their next game.
Right, right.
And, Limbo came out in 2010. This came out in 2016. Will we have to wait 6 years for the third one? Who knows?
Yeah.
But not only is Playdead coming out with their game, but the two developers, the lead developers of Playdead, they split. Art Jensen is still at Playdead, and Dino Christian Patties formed his own company. He they both had a hand in creating both these games, but we're getting a game from not only Dino's new development team called Jump Ship, called Somerville. We're also going to Playdead. What's your expectation now for that game?
Oh my god.
What to follow up, because for me, Inside just blew away anything I could have ever expected from a follow-up, and whether or not it is a quote-unquote sequel, but it's definitely a spiritual successor to Limbo. But now this third game, whether or not it follows up directly from Inside, or if again it's just another spiritual successor to those first two games, what's the expectation there? What are we expecting from that game?
I think it'd be silly to put expectations, especially after experiencing Inside and feeling like, well, I definitely don't know where this is going. So yeah, I think it would be silly to sort of put those expectations on anything, because I don't think that you can. I don't think that you realistically can say, this is what they're doing, this is what they're going to do next, this just makes sense. I am hoping that sans his other teammate, he will be able to deliver the goods, but you never know.
He's making an action adventure game with the, so it's gonna be probably gameplay wise dramatically different.
Yeah, and that's sort of the thing. It's like, it's the whole like Star Wars thing, where everybody's like, oh my god, George Lucas is such a genius, and then he separated from his wife, and then had a different team.
Yeah,
and then it's like, oh, this guy's kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's what I'm kind of expecting. I want to see which of the two games is gonna move me, like Limbo did, like Inside did.
Right.
And then we'll see where the big creative force was, and if they both do, then I mean, kudos to all of them.
Yeah, because then they're all
creative geniuses
and good on them.
But I mean, this isn't the really end of our Inside, because there are a few other ideas I wanted to do with Inside, some short form videos I wanted to do that we'll probably work on for the future. So stay tuned for that. But the next Let's Play we're going to be going back to play that first one. We're going to be doing Limbo, because I think it'd be great to revisit Limbo after having played Inside. Talk a little bit more about the theories about seeing, now that we've gotten inside and played it and going back and replaying Limbo, discussing those theories of how the world's connected. Do they hold up? Just revisiting that first game. I think not a lot of people revisit games, like Limbo, which I think is a game you should probably revisit, because much like Limbo, Inside, Limbo is very much a timeless game, deals with a lot of timeless themes.
About, death.
About death, life, afterlife, the life we're living, the life that's going to, happen after us. And, even and to tie the two games, our present is very much a state of limbo.
Yeah.
We don't know what to expect. Games like this that shows us a world that's so bleak, is this our future? Can we avoid this kind of future? Or are we stuck? Are we doomed to experience this kind of future? And I think that's what this game is definitely touching on, and Limbo deals with those themes in a more of an abstract way. But if you want to tie those games in, I think both those games together, when you think about the ideas they're talking about, it's what we kind of need right now. Like you said, it's what we kind of need. It's a dark game for dark times, but I do think there's light at the end. Just like how there was light at the end of the beach, there's light at the end of Limbo.
It's actually one of the most beautiful, in terms of a beautiful scenery, sunlight. It's the first time we've seen like that powerful sunlight, because even when we start off the game, it's like nighttime in the woods, and so it's like this beautiful just image right by the water where you should feel at peace, and it's such a just bleak. It's such a bleak image.
It's hard to feel at peace after everything you've experienced.
Exactly. And, when you sit there watching this thing, just sort of like, is it alive? Is it dead? Is it dying? Yeah, it's there's a lot there.
There's a lot.
But I would be interested to know in the comment section if there's any games that people think we should be doing. Is there ones, has Inside or has another game affected you as much as Inside has affected you?
Definitely, yeah.
Because there's a lot of stuff out there. I think that we're both parents, so like there's a lot of games that we don't get to play, that we don't have time to play. But I would want to know if there's a game on someone's list that they're like, this, if you liked Inside, you're gonna love this game.
And there's definitely a big movement of games that are definitely doing more of the social commentary, doing more of dealing with abstract issues like death, like life, that aren't just about kill all these enemies or get all these points, and I think those are games that are very compelling to play and create great conversation. So yeah, Drunken Homemaker's right. If you have any suggestions, leave it in the comments below. Let us know what you thought, your thoughts of how you were feeling while playing Inside. Did you feel empty inside at the end of playing Inside, or did you feel hopeful? And stay tuned for our next Let's Play. We're gonna be going back to Limbo. We gotta go back.
We gotta go back.
And yeah, that's it. Any last words?
Nope, that's it. Just keep playing these awesome games, and if you haven't played Inside, Do that. If you haven't watched Truman Show, go watch it.
Watch Truman Show.
Listen to Life After.
Listen to Life
After.
Oh,
I did want to mention, check out Nerdwriter 1's video on Truman Show as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it for me. And then I'll make sure that you put that stuff in the description box.
Yeah, we'll put that stuff in the description
with its respective episode or part. I guess I should say.
So thank you, folks, for watching. I am BeBetterGamer,
and I am DrunkenHomemaker.
And until next time, always be gaming.